And just like that, we're back. How's it? I hope everybody's doing well. Welcome to Loud and Nerdy on a Tuesday night. Knock on wood. For everybody out there, if you got anything going on, physically, mentally, whatever, we're happy you're here with us. It's a joy to be here. Good to see my good friend Jerry Kamora. We may or may not get Kyle tonight, so we're gonna have to wait and see. It'll be a surprise if he shows up, but he has those pesky meetings. He's in a union, takes good care of them, Postal Workers of America. So we wish him the best. We'll see him in a little bit, maybe, hopefully. But if he doesn't,
Yep.
we're here to get everybody going and excited about things. Because you and I, in our couple weeks off, we've been watching a lot of stuff, seeing a lot of things, revisiting some old movies. We just
Yes,
got
sir.
back to Generation movie last night. We watched. We did Chinatown last night. That movie never gets old. That movie is consistently fantastic.
I haven't
And it's
seen that, and
but I got to tell you, like
I'll have to watch it again.
like we were, Rich and I were both talking about how like revisiting it. It's like a perfect script. Like it's as close to a perfect script as you're ever going to see. Like it bubbles and it moves and it kind of just has this. It moves at such a pace. It's 2 hours and 10 minutes, but it doesn't. Like some movies are 2 hours and 10 minutes, but they don't feel like they're 2 hours and
Right,
10 minutes.
flies by.
You
Yep.
know what I mean? Like, and you just go, wow. But on Generation Movie this summer, we're doing filmiversaries. So we're doing movies that are celebrating significant anniversaries from 1974, 1984, 1994, 2004. So we're gonna go back and do a bunch of
Texas
really.
Chainsaw Massacre.
What was that?
Texas Chainsaw Massacre '74.
That's exactly. Well, maybe it's gonna come up. Who knows? Who
We'll
knows
see.
where we're gonna go? Who knows? It's probably coming up. It's on our list. So, but it might be. We might save like the Halloween's. The Halloween filmiversaries this year are off the charts because you got Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You have Friday the 13th, Part 4, the final chapter. You have A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yes.
You have
Gremlins.
Gremlins.
Yep.
Gremlins is going to be Christmas. I'm going to tell you everybody right now, Gremlins is going to be for Christmas. But
It is
um,
kind of a Christmas movie.
it's totally a Christmas movie. It did the funniest story I could ever tell about Gremlins was I was showing it to my little brother for the first time, and Kelly's like, "Hey, isn't that the scene where they basically like she walked into the room and she's like, hey, isn't this the scene where they basically say there's no Santa Claus?" And I'm like, "Holy shit!" Click, fast forward, do whatever you can. Because it was like,
I
you're right. It
remember
does.
that.
Uh, Good evening, friends. Good evening, Kim McKernan. Good to have you back. Good evening, Sean Smithson. And let's talk about Sean Smithson for a moment. Sean Smithson is working with the. I don't want to get it wrong. I want to get it totally right. Sean Smithson's Creations, Handcrafted Woodworking, and Hearts of the Mystic Folk are working together right now, and we're doing some giveaways. So that's kind of cool. So later on tonight, we'll ask a brief trivia question, possibly about the show. So maybe it's something you got to know from being a fan of the show. Like something from the show. But you will get one of these, which is an air freshener.
Awesome.
It's a wooden, handcrafted air freshener, and it will be sent out to you in 4 to 6 weeks. Make a way for us to do it. So I'm so glad that Sean and the play. Heck yeah! Thanks to the Hearts of the Mystic Folk. Yeah, well, anything we can get going where we're working with creatives, we're uniting creatives. That's what we do here. That's what we try to do. Jerry and I have been. It's funny we talk about it all the time, but Jerry and I have been like circling each other without actually knowing we were in each other's areas forever. So, but it's good to be back. We've had a couple weeks to take off. I do want to talk about some things. I don't know if everybody's watching them, but we're going to definitely talk about some things. Later on tonight, we'll get, of course, to our Twilight Zone Redux, and we'll get to the movie that came from Jerry's basement. It came from Jerry's basement, which is one of my favorite segments. But the first thing I want to talk about tonight, well, and we have some news stories, and we're gonna. Although the news was very slim pickings, except for the fact that Paramount is getting bought, right? So Paramount Pictures is getting bought by Skydance Entertainment. They're melding or merging or acquiring or whatever. And we were talking about it a little bit last night. Paramount, when I was a kid, Jerry, if it had a Paramount logo on that side of that video cassette or a Paramount logo on the bottom of the poster, they were always a studio that made great stuff. You know what I mean? Like, think about it: Chinatown, Godfather, Raiders of the Lost Ark. You know what I mean? Like Beverly Hills Cop, Top Gun. Every movie that hit big in the '80s, Paramount had something to do with it. And now we're at a time where Paramount is getting bought by another studio. It's a little bit
right.
It's a little bit sad, isn't it? Or
Yes.
is it something where I'm maybe you and I and maybe people who watch the show are getting too old?
It's a nostalgia thing. Well, you know where I'm at with like the canon movies.
No, that's what I mean. Like,
It's like,
but but like with Paramount though, there was never a chance. Like they made good movies all the time. Like they made every genre too. Like when you think about it, like Silver Bullet or
great
or
movie.
Top Gun or Silver Bullet's a great movie. One of the best Stephen King adaptations, and it's like a 20-page story that they adapted.
Yeah, I have the book.
Cycle of the Werewolf.
Yep.
But anyway, so I just want to talk about that a little bit today. That Paramount's getting bought by Skydance, which is interesting because Paramount's kind of had a good run, but then they got into streaming, and now it seems like all the studios that are getting into streaming, it's just a mistake. Like you know what I mean? You trade in your cards for a streaming service, and then all of a sudden, you're ripe for pickup or ripe to get bought out or whatever. So I'm just a little sad. Anyway, other things, we had this we need to talk about for a little bit. We'll put it up for a second. X-Men '97, a couple weeks ago, dropped, and it was just like the season finale was astounding. And it's just one of those things where it's like sometimes cartoons are better than the real. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes cartoons are better than what we can produce realistically in this in this environment, live action. So X-Men '97 ended with everybody thought the big villain was going to be Onslaught for season 2, because Onslaught is a character that's basically created when Charles Xavier enters Magneto's brain and kind of like messes it up, and kind of like splits it into two, and but they instead went immediately to we are going to go right into Apocalypse. We're getting Apocalypse immediately, which is fantastic. Sounds great to me. I'm all for it. Get me there while I can. And it's such a good show. It actually, the episodes leading up to the end had the moment in every comic book fan's dreams where basically Magneto took Wolverine completely apart with his mind and just was cool about it, right? And so just actually ripped the metal from his bones through his skin, and they did it in a show, and it was like, that's cool as shit. I can't believe we're doing that. But okay, I'm down, right? it's been a long time waiting because every time Magneto gets next to Wolverine, everybody's like, well, why not just just
Right.
fucking kill him? You know what I mean? Like just wreck him. I'm assuming we're gonna get to a point where we have the. I think where they're going is basically they're gonna have Wolverine with the bone, like the bone, like basically that his bone has been laced with adamantium, and basically he can do the bone claws instead of the metal, or maybe they're going to put new metal on him. Who the fuck knows? But it made for great television. It was incredible to watch, and it just one of the other like I've become enamored with X-Men '97, and then the other show that I am desperately, madly in love with that just returned on Adult Swim is this one, Jerry. This My Adventures with Superman show. It premiered in July of last year, and they have new episodes, and they're doing amazing things with the mythos. With you know, they're doing really great stuff. The writing is well done. It's very cute. It's anime style animation, so the fighting is super cool. But they've done a really good job with um, first season. If you haven't seen it, first season basically what they've done is Jimmy and Lois know who Superman is. So there's never a problem
There's no
of like
glasses.
there's no glass. Well, there's glass, but there's never a problem of him trying to always consistently fool them or lie to them or whatever. It got to the point where he was just like, look, you're in on it. You're both in on it. So I am what I am, and whatever. But they've done great. They like first season they shifted villains. They didn't have no Lex, no Brainiac, nothing, no Zod, nothing early, nothing big. But they steadily grew the season out where basically Superman was fighting essentially a version of the Suicide Squad with Livewire, controlled by Amanda Waller and Lois Lane's dad, General Lane. So it was this incredible mix of like just cool shit and just really like intriguing looks at the character, trying to figure things out. They had a couple. Parasite showed up. They had a couple of villains, major comic book villains that were like whatever, but no Lex. No Lex. Lex was off limits. Um, and then slowly this season, we're 3 episodes in, and not only have they reinvented the John Henry character, right, the character that Steele's based on, by making him into a scientist working for a corporation that's building mechs, building like law enforcement mechs, like RoboCop, basically, but not not all the actual violence of RoboCop, but just mechs.
Right.
So John Henry is becoming, he has become a character that's a hero to Superman for his scientific skill and mind, but also he gets into the mech and he has the giant hammer, and it's so they've completely reinvented a character that's been busted twice in live action and made him intrinsically more exciting than anything he's ever been. And then slowly but surely, like one of the characters, there was a punk kid that was just like a background character who worked for the scientist that became Parasite. And he's, early on in the season, this season, the new season, second season, he's going for a job interview. And Jimmy Olsen, who's basically, become a millionaire because of his podcast about aliens and conspiracy theories, and he sold it to the Daily Planet. Basically, he goes to the kid. He's talking to the kid, and he's like, you can make it. You can, just because you worked with somebody and they weren't good, doesn't mean you're not going to be. You can't be great. And he gave him a pep talk at a job interview. And the kid comes in, and the job interview was for Amanda Waller, and basically he was coming in to be her new tech person, and she said, in one of the episode endings, she's like, yeah, you're taking over. That's great. Do all the scientific stuff you do. And what's your name, by the way? And he goes, Al, you can just call me Lex. And it's like,
There it is.
there it is. And, and it's, but it's really well done and insanely well written. And Lois Lane is everything you want Lois Lane to be, and Jimmy's great friend. And Superman, this Superman cares about isn't in his own head, right? This Superman is it's a young version of him that's basically, I'm doing this to protect people. And they also had a great episode early on where so he would go to visit his ship. His ship was still at the Kent farm before he had to move it to Antarctica. And he kept on going to his ship, and he kept on getting hit by a hologram of Jor-El that he didn't know was Jor-El. And basically, the beginning of the season, he finally went to the ship that had downed, and he found it again. And basically, Jor-El was talking to him in English, and he's like, "Why haven't you been able to talk to me like this before?" And he goes, "The AI needed time to learn the English language." So it's one of the coolest little tiny little
it's a detail, right?
tiny little details of being a scared kid who goes into a giant spaceship and there's a guy yelling at you in a foreign language.
Right.
How terrifying that would be. And then the moment he finds out, and it was a bittersweet ending to that episode, because basically the AI was eating itself because the ship had become infected with kryptonite. So he only got to talk to him for a few episodes. So they've completely taken the Jor-El thing away too, with the idea of Jor-El being somebody he can go to and just get all the information he needs. It's really it's really well done. It's one of my favorite things going right now. Godzilla -1 is available to watch on Netflix now. You probably said that though, laugh out loud. I had said it. I'm gonna say it again. Everybody should watch Godzilla -1. Did you? Is it not the greatest Godzilla?
It was good. It was definitely.
It's good. There is just something terrifying about recreating the Jaws boat shot, right? With fucking Godzilla's head sticking out of the fucking ocean. Just the tip, just like his snout.
Yeah.
That's fucking terrifying. Also, they just do a lot of cool shit in the movie. Also, it's the first, I think it's, for me, I've been watching all these old Godzilla movies, and I know people love them, and certainly my nephew loves them. He also intends to not like any Godzilla movie where Godzilla's bad. It's a new thing. He's like, I just can't handle him as bad. Like, I don't, not good. He doesn't understand the concept.
I can remember being like that too, though, when I was young.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah,
because I liked Godzilla, because the first ones I saw were the ones where he was good, right?
Right, and
then you
that's
go
what
back
it is.
to the original, and
right, and his,
when you're little,
I don't like
my hero's not a bad guy.
He inadvertently destroyed Japan. It was an accident. So we haven't really gotten around. But Godzilla -1, on Netflix, it's one of the great. Netflix is going to have a good string of weeks here coming up, because they have Godzilla -1, which is going to tear up their charts because people are finally going to see it. First off, the music is great. Special effects are off, the best special effects in any Godzilla movie. Just the way he looks, the way he moves, the way he looks in the water. And it's the first
I even compared it to, I got to see the Godzilla Kong movie, the newest one. And I
they're
thought
fun.
the effects in -1 were still better.
No. That's the thing. I think the Godzilla Kong. I'm gonna give somebody a big heads up that I've figured out recently. So we're talking about it, but the Godzilla Kong movies are, for me, they're strictly for fun. I don't take them seriously.
Absolutely.
I blow off steam. I'm like, oh my god, they're having, he's having dental procedures done. Like, that's pretty cool. Then when they get down below and the other gorillas are making fun of him because he has a metal tooth, and it's like, hey, why don't you go fuck yourself? It's
sort of made
stuff.
it campy, right?
They're campy and fun, and they're original
and everything. All right,
right, and it's fun, and it's
fun, yeah.
it's big explosions, and Mothra's cool as shit. But a couple things, if you're paying attention to the MonsterVerse mythos. So a couple things. Mothra died in Godzilla King of the Monsters, and one of the things that just came out recently is that the Mothra that's in Godzilla Kong: The New Empire is actually the Mothra, like the original Mothra. She, lives on Hollow Earth and controls everything and can go to the surface and plant other Mothras, which is cool. And that's something that's just come out recently with the director Adam Wingard gave it away, where basically said, somebody asked him how you could have Mothra come back, and he's like, "Who said it was Mothra coming back? I never said it was Mothra coming back." And so basically, it turns out it's Mothra's mother from the original King of the Monsters movie. Also, just a quick thing: these Godzilla Kong movies have made specific reference to just Kong. He's not a king yet, but now that we've seen New Empire, guess what he is? He's King Kong now.
Right.
So we're like that's coming. We're gonna have that. Whatever is gonna happen. It's really funny. My nephew constantly asks now for Angurius. I want Angurius. I want the big turtle. I'm not gonna lie to you, Jerry. I've not seen a fight where Angurius doesn't fall on his back,
Right. Or defend Godzilla.
Nor
he defends Godzilla all the time. They're like friends in most of them, right?
Good evening, gentlemen. Just put on my driveway. Godzilla -1 is amazing. It's the best Godzilla movie ever made. Also, it's also the most caring and compassionate with regards to the Japanese people. It's caring and compassionate with regards to people who have PTSD and any kind of disorder. Like that particular, the kid who's like the pilot who like feels, survivor's remorse, and it just builds up, and then him and his buddies kind of get going on what the plan is to stop Godzilla. I mean, all great stuff. And the boat sequences are absolutely like like trying to hit the fucking barrels, and that shit's real. That was a real Japanese problem, right? Like
right.
when they finally got out of the war with us, they had to clear all the mines that they had put in their own harbor to stop us from invading, which is why we dropped the bomb in the first place. Like, just
it's crazy.
It's incredible when you actually can make a movie that's essentially a giant monster movie and also hit on social
reality,
tied it to historical reality, tied to mental reality, how we actually how people actually break down and feel bad about being survivors. We see that with a lot of people returning from Persian Gulf War, and all the Vietnam and all these different things. Survivor's remorse is a real thing, and to tie it into a real movie so that people can go to see a Godzilla movie and maybe get more out of it than you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Maybe get more out of it than even you and I are getting out of it. Sean writes how Godzilla powered up, and the way the film was absolutely amazing. Excited as a kid watching it. Yeah, you know what? It's one of those movies, and I would encourage also, if you've watched it, to go back and watch it in black and white. It's just as good. It's a different experience. I saw it both in theaters in color and in black and white, and found them both to be like the black and white is really interesting because like right down to the outfits that the Japanese soldiers are wearing and everything that's happened, like it looks like a Godzilla movie. It's really chef's kiss. You know what I mean? Like, just amazing. And it leaves me hopeful. Like, if you can reinvent a franchise like Godzilla every couple of years, and like not every couple of years, but like we've had some down Godzilla movies. I mean, we did the trash with Matthew Broderick. That was absolutely like
that should have been called Reptile or something.
Well, he was like, it was like I remember that when the posters came out, size matters. Like all that shit.
Yeah,
and it was just such a bad movie in every conceivable way. It was like trying to be so many different things.
Why is Biloxi Blues in a Godzilla movie?
Well, yeah, and also like the one, like the girl who's like so bad that she never got any other work.
Yeah,
like she never got work ever again.
I'm sure I have that movie here somewhere too.
You probably do.
Just because I didn't buy it though, I will say that it was probably
somebody gave it to you. I fully believe
too.
that. So it gives me hope.
Sure.
We always have hope that that movies can reinvent themselves, or that great franchises can find themselves again. and I'm gonna bring it up today because it has to be talked about. Um, with regards to that, this movie, that's the poster, by the way. That's
It's cool.
that's a cool fucking poster. The new trailer dropped, and Jerry, I got to tell you, they do like. I will say for anybody who's an Alien fan, which I am, I will even like. I won't sit through the Alien versus Predator movies because they're so bad. Um, I don't even consider them part of the franchise. Like, I don't think I think Resurrection is okay. It has the great water sequence, which is kind of fun. With the aliens using their tails to zip through the water.
3 is your favorite.
I fucking hate three. I hate three so much, Jerry. I can't get past it. I know people. I know some people love it. I know some people love Alien 3, but I can't get past the first 5 minutes.
I'm torn between the first two because there's elements I like of both.
Well,
There
okay,
really
so I can, for me, when I saw the original Alien, I was terrified. My dad and it was my mom, dad, and me. I was 5. I was 5 years old. We were in a 70 millimeter theater. So the screen, I shouldn't hold my arm up like that. The screen wrapped around us, right? Can you imagine being a 5-year-old watching the original Alien? Just, I never went to the bathroom so much in a movie in my life. But I will also tell you there were 3 seats left in the theater. We made a special trip to go see it. There were 2 seats and then one in the front row. I was in the front row. My dad put me up there because he's just like what doesn't kill us makes us stronger kind of thing. I was fucking terrified. But after, when you start growing up, like when Aliens comes out, I'm 12. And is there anything cooler than sci-fi horror movies when you're 12? Is there anything cooler than the Colonial Marines?
Yeah, that's it.
I don't know if you just realized, but we just got our asses kicked. Like, is there anything better than Hudson and Hicks and Apone and
those
Vasquez?
weapons too.
And the weapons are awesome. And is there anything better
And the
than
acid?
The acid shit that happens in the movie? Also, is there anything better than any better female character in film history than Ripley, Ellen Ripley? Is there survives the first one, comes back and goes to the second one, and basically the second movie is just amazingly paid. It's a 2-hour 20-minute movie, Jerry. It moves like it's on fire. It moves like it's just. And I will also say that when we were 12, my cousin Pete and I read the book. We read the Alan Dean Foster book, just the book with the blue aliens on the cover. We read the book, and then when it came out in July, we snuck to a theater. Do you have the book? You have the book then?
No.
Okay, I thought you were reaching for the book. I'm like, Jerry, how do you know what I'm going to ask about? Anyway, we snuck to the theater. We went to the Eric before my dad worked at the UA up there. We dragged 2 of our friends with us who were not prepared, had not read the book, and were not at all prepared for what we were putting them through. And they were younger, and I feel guilty to this day about it. But I also
Well, you were probably sitting there smirking because you knew it was coming. Like,
and then a few
watching them.
a few subtle things. Like they were under seats. Like they were under seat. They had never seen anything like it. And Pete, my cousin, who ends up going in the military eventually, him and I watch it, and we just we're like, yes. Oh, Hudson's dead. Oh, Vasquez in the book. When Vasquez and Gorman get cut off and they're in the tunnels, they both take a grenade out, and they click it together and hit the button and say cheers. So it's a little bit different because it's Vasquez is like you're always an asshole, Gorman. Like you're fucking
right.
But yeah, that movie's totally different. Alien 3 is bad. Alien Resurrection's okay. I wanted to love it, but it wasn't. It had Brad Dourif in it. You know what I mean? Like I want to love it.
Right.
It had Winona Ryder in it. I wanted to love it. It had so many good things, but it's only okay. But this Alien Romulus trailer dropped today, and I will tell you, they made there's no uncertain. It's got Kaylee Spenny in it. She's been in a couple things. She was in the Priscilla movie. She was in Civil War, which is an interesting movie that I think is now on video on demand that everybody can see and kind of.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Did you like Civil War?
It wasn't what I expected at all.
Were you expecting answers? Because I think a lot of people are going into it going, I want to know why there's a civil war, and I want to know
Yeah, I was
how
expecting
Texas.
a lot more. I was kind of hoping it wasn't just about these journalists and a kid and like,
Yeah,
where's the Civil War part?
well, I think
What's this all about? Like you said,
yeah, no, I think
why are people fighting? And then all of a sudden, like they get to this guy and that's it.
well, and I think part of it, is filmmaker. Filmmaker, he's made all these interesting. He's made Ex Machina. He's made Annihilation. He's made really interesting films that ask really difficult questions, about AI and about how we treat the planet. And then this is about. I think this is his answer to everybody who says, let's cue up a civil war. All right, let's have a civil war. And not thinking about necessarily what the cause is, but the idea that this is what you're going to get if you get a civil war. You're going to get, you know, boots on the ground. You're going to get malls closed. You're going to get all this shit that you're not actually thinking about. You know what I
Like
mean?
the
Like
little
you're not.
town that acted like nothing was going on.
Yeah, the little town that acted like nothing was going on. Like fuck, like that was so fucking weird. And they're like, yeah, we're buying stuff. And you're like, there's a civil war going on. Yeah. And then you look out, and on top of all the rooftops are fucking snipers. So I think it was him trying to do that. Again,
It did
once you
remind me of other movies, though. I mean,
well, it's a road movie. It's just a road
yeah,
movie where it's. I will say I think it's Kirsten Dunst's best performance. She was really good. Like she just this heart like that one sequence where she's talking and she's like, I've sent all these pictures home so that we don't repeat what I saw in other countries, right? I sent all these pictures home and
right.
we're still doing it. I don't understand. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I just think it's whatever. You've seen some other things too, right? I
I
haven't.
did.
I have
Well,
not
I
seen.
got to see Abigail too. I did see that.
Oh yes, it's good
Yeah,
movie
that was
night. We're
pretty
talking.
good.
Abigail's a great flick. Abigail. If you're interested in horror films and you like horror films and you like movies that are creating their own mythos because they really do a lot. They do a lot with tweaking, like this Radio Silence team, right? They made the last two Scream movies. They made this movie. They tweak enough, the idea that sire vampires can control little vampires. And they tweak it just enough. And also, I love that the idea of it that it's essentially the usual suspects.
Yeah, the end was a little bit for me. The end, they sort of
Well,
kind of rushed that end a little bit and made it
well,
a little
yeah,
weird. But
he
like the
makes
rest of the
he,
movie was,
he
it
makes a
had
grand.
funny moments, it had gory moments, it had some serious moments.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it immensely. I think the people in it acting are really good.
Yeah, they did
It's
well.
it is a for a horror fan.
Hmm.
It's hard to not love it. You know what I mean? Like it does a lot of things right. Gets a lot of things right. But you also saw the first Omen. I have not seen that yet, so I can't talk about it. But you liked it.
Yeah,
You said it
and
grew on you,
honestly,
right?
it wasn't bad. I it really wasn't bad.
Yeah, I don't know where you. Again, I don't know anything about the movie. I haven't seen it yet. I will. I don't. I just don't know where you go with it. Like, like if we're not.
Like
I
they
mean,
took. I will say this. So the original Omen, this Omen, kind of there were some similarities in certain things with ideas.
okay.
So it almost, I don't want to say they recreated things, but there were
Because
similarities
the chill
in a
in the
sense.
Omen, isn't necessarily the supernatural. The chill in the Omen is like the weird tricks that happen to the people that are trying to out him, right? Like,
Right.
the guy that gets cut in half with the
And that's
glass.
and that's where the similarities are in a sense.
Cool. Okay.
There's a couple other things that are like, oh, that yeah, I've seen that before
I
in
wish
the
that were
original.
better.
It's a little
Well, that's
different,
yeah,
but it's the same idea. Like you sort of
yeah.
stole that idea from the original to tie
But
it in a little bit, but I didn't mind it. I thought it was decent.
and decent from you is with the sheer volume of horror films you've seen in your life is
Yeah, like I didn't turn it
that
off. I didn't get up to go to the bathroom.
that's
I'm
like four.
sorry.
That's
This
like
can
four.
happen next year.
That's like 4 stars from you. That's like
These days.
the yeah. If I don't get up to go to the bathroom in the middle of something, it's like you've done your job. But I should also say, finishing the Alien Romulus conversation, the trailer is spectacular. The new trailer is spectacular because they go back to the greatest tagline in film history, in my opinion, which is "In space, no one can hear you scream." They do it. Uh, it's a series of people screaming with no sound
That's neat.
into the camera where they're playing the like an alien type dong, yes, like that, where they're like the countdown things or the motion tracker, or so it looks and sounds authentic, and that in this day and age, looking and sounding authentic and actually being good. And again, Fede Alvarez, directed Don't Breathe, directed the Evil Dead remake that was well received. You know what I mean? Like he seems to have his hand on the pulse. When I went to see Alien for the 45th anniversary the other day, a month ago or so, when it was out for Alien LV 426 Day, he had a big, huge thing with Ridley Scott, where he was just kind of sitting there, just like kind of fawning over Ridley Scott, but also, saying the things you did in that movie were incredible, and just being able to play in your sandbox, sir, is an immense play because it's produced by Ridley Scott. It's got the fucking Ridley Scott logo on the front of it, but the first trailer scared the shit out of it. Like, it looks scary.
That's
This
cool.
trailer is like, this is an alien movie because, again, part of an alien movie that people don't talk about and we don't get into. The human element of alien movies are so important. Like the Colonial Marines going, not necessarily knowing what they're getting into. No, and when you know what they're getting into is a big deal. When you get to know the characters, and then you feel legit loss when because you love all those characters. They had the fucking scene where they do the knife trick and the scene where they're eating terrible food, and it's great stuff, right?
Right.
I and one of the sequences in the trailer is just the main characters are trying to escape a failed colony of the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, a colony where the atmosphere didn't process properly. And I'm like, anytime you can make an alien movie and make it Weyland-Yutani the real big bad guy, with their synthetic robots all over the fucking place and nobody knowing who they are, and all that. That's when you're onto something. You know what I mean? That's when you get, I heard, and again, this is the word that comes up. Somebody said, "Oh, they're working on an alien show, and it looks like it's going woke." And I'm like, "Fucking alien's been woke since the beginning." Like, I'm serious. Like, think about it. There are a bunch of people who are working on a commercial mining expedition. They're constantly begging for more scraps. If we're setting down and we're doing a distress call, I'm just here to mine shit. You know what I mean? Like, think about all the times in the original movie where they're talking about what's my pay, what's my bonus going to be, what's the bonus situation, how many shares am I getting? Like, it's constantly about the little man, and then, in all honesty, the corporation says, crew's expendable. We need this for the biotech division. So it's always been fucking woke. Like, I just like when people say woke, I immediately think they're stupid, and then I also like look at what they're looking at and like fucking Alien and Aliens has been woke forever. Like fucking Burke, fucking corporate guy that's always screwing people over, right? And she has a great line, I don't know which species is worse, Burke. You
Right?
don't see them screwing each other over for profits. You know what I mean? Like it's always been that way. So but that movie looks great. It's coming out in August. We should talk a little bit about the box office. Furiosa was great, but Furiosa isn't going to gross $500 million. Okay, and it just got beat this weekend by Garfield. Just an amazing, an amazing thing because right now there is a dearth of children's movies. Kids like to go to the fucking movies, and we have had If and we've had Garfield, and they're kind of bumping along and they do well for a long period of time. And movies like Furiosa, which is great, it's fantastic. It's not Fury Road great, right? But she is fantastic. I have a cup. I got a cup, right? And Morton Joe,
They're still making cups.
they are. And look at and then
I was just drinking out of my Jurassic Park cup the other day.
I still have the Jurassic Park cups. I have all the Batman cups. Were you in? Were you in? Can I ask a question? 1992, when we graduated, were you in Ocean City when
No,
Batman opened? Did you go
nope.
to? You didn't go to Ocean City. You didn't do Senior Week.
No, I didn't.
What a fucking train wreck that was.
Oh,
More,
I thought you were
more
going to say, what a loser you are.
no, what
That
no.
too.
I look back on it and go, why the fuck am I here? Why did I go? We drank so much Mad Dog that week. Everybody was
Oh,
oh, it was so bad.
I'm glad I
Like
didn't go.
I remember Nick Delliman. Nick and I we were trying to come up with the best flavor to drink, and we were mixing it with stuff and trying to figure like we
The
hit
best
upon
flavors the next morning.
the best flavor is not to drink it. But I went to Batman Returns in Ocean City, Maryland, and I also bought all the cups the night it opened because I was so drunk that I just
I
bought.
want every single one that you have.
I want all
They're
the
all the same
goddamn
print.
cups.
I don't care. I want them all.
Yeah, it was that level of drunk. Let's see. Venom trailer is out also. Yes, I don't understand it. So I was going to talk
I
about
didn't
it for a
see that
second.
trailer yet.
It's the Last Dance. I guess Venom's got creatures coming in from another planet. More creatures from the Venom planet, but it also has like weird. I don't know. There's MCU ties to it. It's just all over the place. I can't. I know they're profitable, and I know people like them because of Tom Hardy, and they've done a really good job. But like they're all an hour and 25 minutes, and they're all like completely hell bent on just getting from one point A to point B and nothing else.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I've seen them. I've seen two of them. There's two, right? There's not
yeah,
more
there's
than
two. The third one comes
all
out
right.
in
I've seen
October.
I've seen the two, and it's like it was okay for what it was. It's one of those to me. Not I have nothing else to watch. That's kind of how it was for me. And
Well,
it's like if I'm in the mood for one of them type of movies, like I call them, the superhero movies or whatever. I
well,
get
there's
it.
a, yeah, there. I mean, there. I don't know. I made the Carnage movie, and then
I don't think they're terrible. I mean, they're
yeah, they're.
okay.
I don't know. They're not Morbius. They're not Morbius
Oh,
bad,
that was bad. I did see that.
but they're not like
It was
Spider-Man No
incredible.
Way Home good. You know what I mean? Like they're not. They're like right. They're right in the middle of like. They're essentially made so that Sony can keep the Spider-Man brand. Um, but this trailer has it's got a lot of military stuff. It's got Venom changing a horse into a Venom horse and all
Hmm.
these things that I guess people would get super excited about. But it somehow there's an MCU because it goes back because Eddie got shifted in the universes from the other Spider-Man, but it goes back into the MCU because there's a guy putting a glass over the Venom that was in the Tiki Hut bar in at the end of Spider-Man. No Way Home. So I don't know what the fuck it is. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know where we're going with it. and Ken, thank you for posting stuff. Ken, a trailer. I've been out of it for a little bit. Trailer's posting the Loud and Nerdy group. What the hell? What the hell, Ken? You meant Loud and Nerdy, right? Okay, I'm just kidding. I appreciate Ken for posting all the cool shit that he can find into the Loud and Nerdy group, and we
Listen, to
appreciate
his
everybody.
credit, you know, if he's using a phone or whatever,
Yeah, and I'm
the
just
keyboards, I type everything wrong on this stupid thing. Everything.
yeah.
Keyboard's tiny, and I feel like I have sausage for fingers.
We, yes. And then as your phone gets a little bit older, like you're like clicking on the different like fucking wrong letters. Oh, God. Okay. What else? So let's get to one of my favorite segments of the week. Again, we're probably not gonna have Kyle tonight, so he won't be able to show us what Funko Pop. Oh, I know. You know what? We'll talk about it because he's not here, but we'll bring it up. So Kyle bought a Funko Pop and he put up in the Loud and Nerdy group, and he's being a bitch about things. Um, but he put up this picture. Hold on, I'm gonna. He put up a picture in the Loud and Nerdy group, and it's like all designed to fuck with me, which is fantastic. I'm fine with it. Um, because God knows I need to take more shit in my life. Let's see. This is the picture he put up in the group. Because as you know, I don't know if you know about this, Jerry, but I made this bet. Somebody we know is a huge Jubilee fan. And while I find Jubilee fine on X-Men 97 and everything else, there's never going to be a standalone Jubilee movie. I made a bet at one point, you may not have been on the show, where I said I will
I
eat
remember
a
hearing
hat.
about it. Yeah.
Okay. I will eat a
You
hat.
guys talked about this, and I sat
Yes.
there like,
So Kyle put up this fucking pop. These two pops. And I'm like, they're 1086, 1306, and one's X-Men 97. And that's great.
looks like a girl Rambo.
Well, yeah, she's Jubilee. She's a great character. I have no
I don't
problem
really
with
know
her.
the character. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, she's like she does sparkle fingers. She does all kinds of cool like she's like she has a lot of like energy that comes out of her hands, kind of, and she's very in the 90s, like the 90s version of the character in 97 is very teenage mall girl. Like she's a valley girl kind of thing. I think
How
she's a
old
great
is
character.
this character though? Like how
What
long
was
has this
that?
character been in existence?
She's been in existence for a good portion, at least to the 97, like in the 97 show, she's the lead story. Like the first episode of the X-Men 97 show is her going to the mall, being attacked by sentinels, and then her parents kind of like
So this
handing.
isn't a character from like 74.
I don't know where. Like I honestly don't know where she. Like I first saw and heard of her
I just
late 80s, early 90s, and then she was
all
on the
right.
97 show.
So it is pretty old.
Yeah, she's never gonna have her own movie. And I made a bet somebody wants a Jubilee standalone movie. I'm like, we don't even have a fucking X-Men movie
I
in
was
the
messing with
MCU.
you.
Yes. And then he said somebody's getting nervous. I'm not getting nervous. They put out a pop because X-Men 97 is one of the hottest shows on Disney Plus. You know what I mean? Like it's one of the hottest fucking shows going. So the idea that that they put a
Somebody's gonna
pop
drop
out for it,
$50 on two pops.
that's what I mean. Like, but the idea that they put out a pop is not like that doesn't get my panties in a bunch. Do you know what I mean? Because it just means that X-Men 97 did well. You know what I mean? Like, fucking relax. Jesus Christ.
Wait until he's on next week.
Yeah, I know. I can't.
He's
Yeah.
gonna get you.
Well, it'll just be me and him. So like, you're leaving
Yep.
me alone to be taken apart. I don't appreciate that. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I mean, it cool character, amazing character. Well, the kind of character you can get behind. But it's just she's not gonna have her own movie. So
I have to get the Rob Zombie Herman Munster Funko Pop, right?
Oh my god. Never like that. Rob Zombie was. Did I don't know if I told you about this. Rob Zombie was out ripping other horror films, and I'm like, who the fuck are you? Your
Right?
films make no sense. Your
Listen,
films,
Mister, I thief other movies.
your movies make no sense, and they're bad. You know what I mean? Like, so how dare you? How dare you make fun of other movies? Like, what the
When I
fuck?
when I saw House of a Thousand Corpses, I'm like, I saw this movie before. This is Motel Hell
It's
and a
Motel
little
Hell,
bit
but
of Texas
not it.
Chainsaw Massacre mixed in.
Well, it's Motel Hell. It's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's all these like, it's all better movies we've seen before. Like,
Yeah.
it's all every single one. You
Damn it!
know, I
Now I
mean,
have to watch Motel Hell again.
that's crazy.
I have to stop doing that.
The only thing about it though that I find him to be abhorrent, and the idea that he thinks he's special enough to rip other movies. I don't even remember the movies he was ripping. I was just like, that's fucking ridiculous that Rob Zombie's out there going, hey, these movies suck. Like, holy shit.
There must have
Jeez.
been a mirror in front of him.
Well, it's just one of those things where it's like, do you have any like, how could you possibly judge other fucking movies, Jerry? Like, if
Hmm.
you think the movie you made was good, how can you possibly judge other horror films?
Right on.
I'm consistently amazed that we get these people. Okay,
Well,
a couple
anyway,
things. Yeah, fuck that. Fuck. Yeah, and there's never gonna be a Jubilee movie. I'll eat a hat, but that's not gonna happen. So anyway, let's see. With the diabetes now, I can't see so well anymore. I was just kidding, Ken. I was just kidding. Jubilee pop, yes. I never. The two things I hear more than anything are Jubilee, fucking Howard the Duck are the two things that I hear more than any other thing. Um, okay, good. A couple good things, streaming things, really quick. There's a movie coming up on the 7th called Hitman. It's going to be on Netflix. It's got Glenn Powell, supposedly fantastic. It's going to be one of the big movies that everybody's talking about. It's also getting a release in theaters for some reason. This is also premiering. It's already premiered 58 minutes ago. And the moment I get done with the show, I will immediately be going to watch The Acolyte, which is the new Star Wars show. Looks great. Rich has already seen 4 episodes. He was talking about it last night. Couldn't actually release the reviews till today, but he said it's fantastic. Totally different from anything Star Wars has ever created. The other last story we're going to talk about tonight is Max Price. Max, the streaming service, hikes the price for ad-free plans effective immediately as we're getting ready to premiere House of the Dragon season 2. So it goes from $15.99 to $16.99 for the ad-free. It goes from $149 to $169, and the ultimate ad-free tier will also increase by $1 per month to $20.99, and by $10 per year, bringing the new annual cost to $209.99. Holy fuck! Just like it's like streaming has gotten out of control, and we don't know what we're doing. And we were. Do you remember when we used to complain about cable?
all the time. Yes.
How expensive it was, and then streaming started, and you could get a la carte. You only had to pick up things when you needed to get rid of them. You could get rid of it, but now
There's
nobody
going
can.
to be advertisements on our caskets. I'm telling
I
you.
hope so. I want a Nike
There's
swoosh
going to be.
and a Raiders logo.
They're going to.
Okay,
It's
the best part of the
ridiculous.
week. The best part of the week, Jerry, are the two segments we do every week. You and I. Let's start with it came from Jerry's basement. Actually, let's get some comments first. Um, what? No 7? No, we're not. First off, it's not spelled that way, Jasper. It's S7VEN. Video game Hitman? No. It's an original movie starring Glenn Powell. I think it's based on a true story or something along the line. It's about a guy who's an actor who walks in inadvertently to a to a murder, and then he becomes a hitman that becomes it's a comedy. So it's wrong place, wrong time kind of movie. Now they have two baby Yodas. Grogu. His name's Grogu, not Baby Yoda. Anyway, it came from Jerry's basement. Jerry, what, pray tell, is the movie that you have found in the dark recesses of your mind and basement? This week?
Tonight's movie is Slaughter High.
A young Brad Pitt is in Slaughter High, correct? Is it Brad Pitt's in that?
No, he's in what's the movie?
Oh, what the fuck is it? Oh,
Class Reunion.
is it class? No, it's not Class
Cutting
Reunion.
Class.
Cutting Class. That's the one he's in.
That's it.
Okay. So where is this movie? Where can we watch this?
This movie is streaming on Tubi.
Tubi, so it's free. Came out in 1986, Jerry.
Yes, it did.
It was a Vestron movie.
And this
Vestron
movie,
Pictures.
This movie is basically about a group of kids that pick on the nerd kid in high school. Some years later, they receive an invitation to go back to the school for a class reunion. And they meet an unexpected fate.
So in 86. So this is 86. This is a slasher that people may not realize, but it's like it's all the all the people, right? All like showing up, and they all have different lives and whatever. And it's like welcome back and all this, and it's basically luring whoever the nerdy kid was who got picked on. And so it's a little bit prom night, a little bit. Right, it's basically the place where we get all our slasher films from, is the 80s, and these are like these little gems that you find from the 80s where like they don't have the greatest cast, you know what I mean? Like they don't necessarily, but they're a tried and true formula. Everybody's a suspect until they die, right? And they're fun.
And the particular killer in this movie has an interesting mask. It's like a jester.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of a memorable thing, you know.
Interesting tidbit about this movie. It was filmed in England under the working title April Fool's Day, and then it was retitled because Paramount Pictures
had April Fool's Day.
And it opened in 1986, and there's not a lot of people you're going to recognize in it, but it's fun and it's original and it basically it sets the stage for any number of urban legend or any number of Scream. It DNA is in this movie, right? And so it's a lot of fun. Excellent. Comments. Let's see what we got. Classic. Direct to video. No, it did appear in theaters. It was released in theaters in November 1986. Limited number of theaters, but it did expand, and it screened all the way through the spring of 1987. Cost $2.1 million to make. It made about hold on. It didn't make as much. It didn't make a lot of money, but it did. It did kind of like get its cost back with regards to rentals and everything.
Well, it wasn't one of those nostalgic videos for anybody who likes slasher and gore. I mean,
if you like slasher,
guys like me,
we could do an entire episode of Loud and Nerdy just about 80s slasher movies and how good they were and how many, like how they
Happy Birthday to Me, all of those.
Oh, Happy
My
Birthday
Bloody
to Me.
Valentine. This. So.
Did you hear that Blumhouse has picked up My Bloody Valentine? That's something that came out this week. Whether you like Blumhouse or not, they do love horror films, right?
Right.
I hope they get it right compared to the My Bloody Valentine remake they did, which was okay, but it wasn't as good as the original. Because My Bloody Valentine is just a dirty, filthy kind of movie where it's all like
Yep.
it's gory and it's very, very, very scary. It's not it's not a slasher film for the faint of hearts. Like it has very little there's very little humor in My Bloody Valentine. And
No, it's very dark.
when they did the 3D remake, they changed some things, moved some things around, and it was okay, but it wasn't what it. The 3D was good actually, but it wasn't what it could have been. So
Yeah. The original, it's like we can't leave this place.
the original is fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Like the original, like there are kills in the original like that are just kind of like they're not necessarily gory, but they're just brutal to watch.
Yep.
Did you used to buy Fangoria magazine? Yes.
Absolutely. I
God,
actually have
yes.
another magazine, Gore Zone. That's from the 80s too.
I was a big Starlog fan
Starlog. I remember Starlog.
and Cinemascape. There was a
I remember that one
Cinemascape.
too.
Yeah, they're like you go to the newsstands and they were the glossy just with movie pictures. But yeah, so that's available on Tubi. Slaughter High, a lot of fun. You know, if you're into slasher films, especially. Um, okay, finishing up with my most important thing of the week. Wait, hold on, we got a comment, and then we'll get
Famous
to it.
Monsters. That's a good one too.
Famous Monsters of Filmland, of course. Forrest Ackerman, yes, all super cool. That was what my dad used to do. But a little bit before my time. But if you have any in your basement and or attic, they're worth a lot now. Let's get to the Twilight Zone Redux because again, as we're talking about Slaughter High and how all these movies have kind of like are DNA from it. This week's episode of the Twilight Zone, titled "The Hitchhiker," it's the 16th episode of the Twilight Zone, aired on January 22nd, 1960. It's based on a radio play by Lucille Fletcher. It is frequently listed as among the series' greatest episodes because, and I again, Jerry, we talked about this episode leads to so many other things, even in just light DNA strands, right? Like for example, a show that we don't talk that doesn't get talked about, even though Maxes are increasing in prices, and we don't have some of the original stuff on Max. There was a show on HBO that used to be called The Hitchhiker, and
Love that show.
it's basically an anthology series, and it's basically Twilight Zone light, but it's a great show. But the whole concept of the hitchhiker is from this episode. So let's read as we are wont to do. Her name is Nan Adams. She's 27 years old. Her occupation, buyer at a New York department store. At present, on vacation, driving cross country to Los Angeles, California from Manhattan. And then the narration continues after Nan is on the side of the road. She's got a mechanic. He's fixing her tire. He basically says, how fast are you going? She's like 60, 65. It's like, you left skid marks. We're lucky we're just fixing a tire. We're not calling a hearse, is what he says. A minor incident on Highway 11 in Pennsylvania, perhaps to be filed away under accidents you walk away from. But from this moment on, Nan Adams' companion on a trip to California will be terror. Her route, fear, her destination, quite unknown. So it's an amazing episode. There's basically an old gentleman on the side of the road, played by Leonard Strong. He's called the Hitchhiker, and there are many instances during the episode where she sees him in a rearview mirror, or she sees him in she has a bag that opens up and has a mirror. She sees him there, and there are constant remarks to other people, like you see that the hitchhiker looks a little weird, and everybody basically says nobody can see him. Nobody.
Basically, it starts, after the accident, he's there,
And
wanting
he
to ride.
wanted to hitch a ride.
He passes him right by, and
She has,
from
she
then
passes
on
him
in, it just sets the tail.
It sets the tone. It has, this is 1960, right? And it's before Psychos come out, right? And this is I'm not saying Hitchcock stole from Twilight Zone or anything, but there is a frantic way she's driving that is very reminiscent of the early sequences of Psycho. You know what I mean? Like, just she's driving recklessly. She's like trying to avoid things. So it's possible that as we look at these Twilight Zone episodes, it's not only influencing things now today, but it influenced things that have influenced things today. You know what I mean? It's not only it's not only influencing the directors and actors and people that
Right.
worked on the show, but it's also influencing generations of people like
Well,
Jordan Peele or
when I watched it, one of the things I thought about is Creepshow 2.
Creepshow 2. The Creepshow 2
It
definitely has
reminded
the
me
same.
of that. I mean, obviously not the same story, but it reminded me of the similarities.
Yeah.
Seeing this hitchhiker, no matter
Well, and
what.
it it's also reminiscent of like the any of the movies that have any kind of a concept where you see a hitchhiker on the side of the road and you don't do right by the hitchhiker, or you see a hitchhiker on the side of the road, and it's part of like Night of the Creeps has a hitchhiker story at the beginning where somebody's trying to get in
Right.
the car, but it's just so well written.
Or even the Hitcher in
Yes,
some way.
yeah,
Another fantastic movie.
another great movie from the 80s.
But
But
the end was great too. I mean,
yeah, well, the
the
end,
twist.
yeah, the twist comes, as great Twilight Zone episodes do. First, I do want to give a lot of credit to Inger Stevens, who plays Nan Adams in the episode. She is definitely like coming apart at the seams.
Yep.
Like it has it all over her face. Every time she sees the hitchhiker in the mirror, she's freaking out. She picks up a Navy guy at some point, and basically he basically says to her, "Just let me out of the goddamn car because I feel like you're going to kill
Yeah,
us
this
both."
lady's nuts.
This lady's crazy. The end of the episode, she takes side roads in Mexico, like does all kinds of crazy stuff. And then in Arizona, Nan stops. This is the twist of the episode. To call her mom in Manhattan. The woman who answers the phone says Mrs. Adams is in the hospital. She had a nervous breakdown after finding out her daughter Nan died in Pennsylvania 6 days ago when the car she was driving blew a tire and overturned. Nan realizes the truth. She didn't survive the accident in Pennsylvania. The hitchhiker is none other than Death himself, patiently and persistently waiting for her to realize she's been dead all along. Nan returns to her car, looks in the vanity mirror on the visor. Instead of the reflection, she sees the hitchhiker who says, "I believe you're going my way." Closing narration.
Cool.
Nan Adams, age 27. She was driving to California, Los Angeles. She didn't make it. There was a detour through the Twilight Zone. Fuck, man. These episodes are damn good and they're amazing to watch. And you know what? The acting is better than a lot of the stuff we see today. It just is, Jerry. Like I don't mean it as
Well,
like
and
screaming in a
comes,
cloud.
it comes
You know what I
back to you're packing in a whole movie in 25 to 30 minutes.
And it's just
Essentially, you're telling a
it's
story from beginning to end in that short amount of
it's
time.
right. It's an
And it's
excellence of
great.
execution, and then they process them and they churn them out, and then they get actors who like it's just an amazing episode.
Yeah, they either get actors that are already self-made or actors that are at the beginning of their career, but everybody sort of seems to have a hand in it somewhere. Or
Okay, so we have a conversation going on in the comments. Hi Wendy, can't wait to hear about Carolina Fear Fest. Hi Joe, let's talk. I'll give you the rundown. Hi JW, hi Jerry. Hi Wendy.
Hi.
She's on another show on the network called Sticky Microphone. Thank you for joining us. Carolina Fear Fest looked like you had a blast. I hope it went really well. I hope you got some cool things. I hope your handling was okay. You were handling people. You're a handler for the weekend. Congratulations on that. But this episode of the Twilight Zone, it should be ranked as one of the highest because it has everything you want in a traditional Twilight Zone episode, right? It has real fear. It has excellent writing. It has
suspense.
really good suspense, really good performances, and an ending that that M. Night Shyamalan would kill himself for. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where so next we are careening. We're 16 episodes in. We got get this, Jerry. We got 30 episodes. We got 20 episodes left. Next week is one of my favorite episodes. And it's an episode I caught about 3 or 4 years ago.
I watched it already.
It's called The Fever. It is just about the very best gambling addiction horror story.
Raglan.
It's going to be great. Can't wait for next week. Let's see. Wendy also says, loved it. I'm assuming she's talking about Fear Fest. And then Jasper, with Rod Serling in mind, what do you think of the King Charles painting? With Rod Serling in mind, the King Charles painting, what I think of the King Charles... First off, the only thing I think about the King Charles painting is all I could think of was Vigo, the Carpathian. The painting of King... so I think this is what Jasper's talking about. It is pop culture,
I have to look for it.
so we can do it. It's one of the most terrifying things. King Charles did a portrait.
That's definitely Vigo. Come on.
King Charles did a portrait. King Charles did a portrait, and it's did somebody?
That's right out of Ghostbusters. Come on, dude.
Yeah, it looks like he's sitting in fucking the mood slime. It's crazy. Pulled it up again so everybody can see it.
Hold on 1 second.
He commissioned somebody and paid them a lot of money to look like he's sitting in Pepto-Bismol.
He's trying to take over the soul of a baby.
Oscar should run away. That's my pop culture take on the King Charles portrait. Let's see. Night Gallery is a great show. I love Night Gallery. I love all
Night Gallery was a great show. Yeah,
Night Gallery is a really great show. I will say, I love Night Gallery. There's Spielberg episodes, but I would also say I'm going to be honest. I went from Twilight Zone as a kid, not necessarily Night Gallery. I went Twilight Zone to Alfred Hitchcock Presents to another great show to Tales from the Dark Side. Like that was the show.
I used to watch The Outer Limits too. The Outer Limits was pretty good.
The Outer Limits was good too. Like I have no problem with any of them. I'll sit down for any. They
were all really good.
Yeah, but the Twilight Zone, man.
Yeah.
Like they had everything before anybody knew what they were doing.
And then the Hitchhiker. I mean, that, of course, that was later, but I have them on DVD. The episodes of the Hitchhiker.
That's great because you can't fucking get them anywhere else.
Yeah, they were great. I know, like it was on HBO. That's where we saw them, and then USA picked that up.
3 shows. There are 4 shows on HBO that I would like if Max could get their head out of their ass and figure out what the rights are. I'd like to see Tales from the Crypt. I'd like to see Dream On. I'd like to see First and 10.
Oh, I remember that show.
About the lady who bought the football team.
Yeah. What about Not Necessarily the News?
And Not Necessarily the News. Yes, because I loved Sniglets when I was growing up.
Sniglets were great. I made up some Sniglets too years ago for different things.
The Elbonics that was like fighting over the arm at a movie theater. Anyway, but okay, so good episode tonight. No Jerry next week. He's going to Alaska. What about Slapjaw? Do you got any big Slapjaw shows or things coming up?
July 13th, V-Spot Scranton. It's
nice.
It's our birthday show.
It's your birthday show.
Yeah. Anniversary. It's an anniversary.
How old will Slapjaw be?
Slapjaw is 26.
It's been drinking for 5 years. Doesn't have a drink.
We just got a decrease in our car insurance last year. So
congratulations. That's a big step. Okay, so they can find Slapjaw online and definitely look them up. And the tickets are always reasonable. It's always a good night when you go see them. I am back. I'm feeling better. Thank everybody who was wondering. Everybody's asking questions.
That's great.
I'm gonna be fine. I'm just getting used to my new Terminator-like metal in my body and whatnot. I have a card and everything. I can't be scanned anymore. So if you need me to sneak weapons on planes and whatnot, I'm your guy. No, just kidding. I would never. I can't. I would never. But anyway. And just really quick, these are pictures. This is the hitchhiker, by the way. I forgot to show them. I have them. I just this is the hitchhiker. He looks terrifying, but also nice. And then this is him at the gas station, or when she first sees him. And then this is the Navy guy who gets in the car and doesn't realize.
I like the look on his face.
He's like, "What the fuck?" Well, she has a crazy moment where she tries to drive into the hitchhiker, and then she careens off the road. He's like, "I think you're gonna kill us both," you know. But it's a great episode. We also we are working on Generation Movie this summer. We are calling it Filmiversary Summer, the Filmiversary Summer. So we're going to look at all these movies that are celebrating major historical anniversaries. And there are going to be a bunch of movies we haven't done yet, and also movies that may have tie-ins to different things. I'm going to give you we already did Chinatown last night. Fantastic. Go back, watch the episode. By all means, go watch the movie as well. It's fantastic. Probably the best film noir ever made. Next week, Jerry, we're doing this little corker of a 1994 movie celebrating 30 years. 30 years old, Jerry. We have two movies that are 30 years old in a row.
4 was only a couple years ago. Come on.
Stargate, baby.
Oh, that's a great movie.
Kurt Russell, James Spader, Jay
I
Davis.
saw that in the theater.
That's a great movie. Lots of action, cool concept. Eventually it branched out to 75 different shows. The following week on Generation Movie, we're doing this little movie. You may have heard of it. It's from 1994. Kind of important, but also just a movie that was copied and tried to copy, and a lot of people didn't get right. We're doing Pulp Fiction.
Right on.
And then on June 24th, before we take
Get
a
out
week
the
off,
gimp.
Get out the GIMP. Yes. Also, not my favorite part. I will say my favorite sequence of the movie is anything with the gold briefcase. Just because I'm a Kiss Me Deadly guy, so I'm always Kiss Me Deadly is a fantastic film noir from the 50s where they had a box, and anytime somebody opened the briefcase, they fucking died because it was it was a radioactive material in the briefcase. So but again, maybe it's his soul. Who knows? Could be a soul. We'll talk about it in a couple of weeks. Then on June 24th, we talk about a little movie released in 1984. It did okay at the box office, and by okay at the box office, I mean broke box office records for being an R-rated movie, and also as a tie-in to one of the most anticipated films of the summer on Netflix. We're doing Beverly Hills Cop. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. I love every single minute of it, and I actually think it's the nexus by which we started making action comedies. We wouldn't have Rush Hour. We wouldn't have Bad Boys. We wouldn't have any of these fucking movies. We wouldn't have Lethal Weapon. Wouldn't have any of it without Axel Foley going to Beverly Hills. And we get Axel Foley back the following week on July 3rd on Netflix and Axel F, which it's like Alien Romulus.
Yeah, fingers crossed, right?
Please be good.
Don't screw it up.
Don't fuck it up. We haven't had a Beverly Hills Cop movie in a while, and the third one is fucking awful. Anyway, finishing up comments. Let's see. Tales from the Crypt on YouTube. Yeah, but I want it in HD and I want it 4K. We're cool like the Fonz. Zed's dead, baby. Zed's dead. I'm not falling for a banana in my tailpipe. Yes, that's one thing. But my question, Jasper, and this is the question that I will say will be for this amazing air freshener. Since you mentioned the bananas in the tailpipe, and since we are talking a little Beverly Hills Cop, send me the first person in the next 24 hours who sends me a direct message or a DM on who gave Axel Foley the bananas, the actor that gave Axel Foley the bananas for the tailpipe, is the best. It's a perfect way to end the show today. We'll see everybody next week for Loud Nerdy. No Jerry next week, but then Kyle will be back. So all is right with the world. We missed Kyle tonight, but thank you so much for that Funko Pop that he put up. Thank you for joining us. Everybody have a great week. Thank you for joining us, Jerry. Good to be back, and we'll see everybody next week.
Sure.
Well, you won't, but I will. and then we'll make it work. I'll miss you. You know what you need to do? Send me something for the Came from Jerry's Basement. We'll still do it even though you're not here.
Okay.
We'll do something.
I'll do that.
Have a great week. See everybody next week. Bad Boys opens this week. The reviews are kind of good. They're saying it's a lot of fun. So we'll see what happens. Go see a movie. Hitman on Netflix is the one I think everybody's going to be talking about. Have a great